Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders sometime this week.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, girl, how are you? And I've got to say, I want to make an announcement to everyone. It is a celebration today in the studio. It is our founder's birthday. Yay, Heather.
I'm aging like fine wine, Dylan.
She is.
Or at least a boxed wine with some personality.
Yeah, or maybe like an aged cheddar, some cheese, some high-end cheese.
I'm stinky as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm stinky up in here.
Yeah, I want to taste you.
Big old stinky cheese. Thank you for that, Dylan. You know, I've been grappling with this whole getting older thing, and I'm 45 today. And that just seems like a really big deal.
Wow.
Because I'm now halfway to 50, you know?
You're halfway to 50.
But
within the decade.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm halfway there between 40 and 50, I guess
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. So I'm closer to 50 now than 40. I'm staring 50 down, you know, like it's a shotgun.
No, it's true. The 5 in a decade is a big deal. 25, 35, 45, it's a big deal.
But I've decided I'm going to change my attitude about it, Dylan. Instead, I'm celebrating. I am decomposing gracefully. I'm not aging. I'm just decomposing gracefully.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of people don't get the privilege of turning 45.
No.
Or being 50. So I'm going to celebrate the fuck out of it. And every little line and wrinkle in my face and every little dimple in my body, that's a celebration
Yeah, because you earned those.
of my experience.
No, it's true. And I think that's a great attitude. And that is the first time you've said I'm 45 out loud. So I want to congratulate you.
I can't wait till I can say I'm 50.
She's looking forward to it.
So I can kick and stretch and kick. I'm 50. Like Sally O'Malley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to wear like a red one-piece like jumpsuit as well.
No, but I think that's a good way to look at it because at the end of the day, you're not going to reverse it. It's not going to change, right?
I'm just going to embrace it.
Yeah, it's just the next phase of your life.
You know, there are some positives about being 45. Like, I don't have to worry about men hitting on me anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, you know, years ago, you might get hit on when you was younger. And, I'd always be like, just get away from me. You know, when some rando in the grocery store comes up like, hey, you buying ranch dressing? Yes, get out of my face. So at least I don't have to worry about that now.
Okay.
Right? And people call me ma'am. So you get some respect as you get older. I like being a ma'am.
You wear that with honor?
I'm like, fuck yeah, call me ma'am. You little snot-nosed punk. That's right. I'm a ma'am. And pretty soon I'll start getting AARP stuff in the mail. So that's good too. And you best believe I'm going to take advantage of the senior discounts. I'm going to eat the early bird special at Bob Evans.
Yeah, I can't wait. Because you know what? I'm senior anyway. Why would I not get a mild discount?
Give me a discount. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll be talking to someone about maybe the work I've done or, fenced for 30 plus years, was in the paper industry for, going on 14 years. I've done this, I've done that. And I'm just like, hold on a second. I'm freaking getting older.
We are getting older.
I mean, it took a lot of time to do that.
You know what's really hits me about the getting older thing too, or what's been making me realize it lately, is every time we watch a movie or we see a celebrity that we kind of came up with and we're like, bro, they look so old now.
Yeah.
But then we have to pause and say, well, wait a minute, so are we?
Yes.
Like I saw Jude Law in a movie. You were watching some movie the other day. And Jude Law, I was like, he looks like Dabney Coleman now that he's old.
He really does.
Yeah, I even text my bestie this, and she's like, yeah, with a mustache, he kind of does.
No, he totally did. When you said it, I could not unsee it.
So I'm like, how did, this kind of heartthrob Jude Law of the early 2000s turn into Dabney Coleman?
That's because that Jude
And was
Law...
Dabney Coleman ever a sex symbol?
I want to know, was he ever young? He's one of those people that always looked old, forever.
Because he's
older.
There's just something about him that's just so gross. Like he plays a gross guy really well. Like his character in Tootsie. He's the soap opera director, and he's just such a scumbucket. Like, just so gross. Anyway, let's move along, Dylan. We have a bit of a mixed bag for you today. But before we get into the episode, we got to give a shout out to some wonderful folks who joined us at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast, where they are supporting the show, but also getting ad-free episodes and bonus content. Yay!
And a lot of it.
Patreon. So, Caitlin.
Yay,
Thank
Caitlin.
you so much. Aaron. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Kanya.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Kanya.
And
I hope that's right.
Nicole.
And Nicole. Thank you, Nicole.
All right, guys.
Gosh,
We appreciate y'all.
that's a whole crew of patrons.
We appreciate y'all.
Thank you to our new patrons. Thank you to our old patrons. And thank you to all our listeners.
All right, Dylan. So like I said, we have a bit of a mixed bag. We do have some listener stories. And since it's been a minute, I thought we could read some of these listener stories that have been sent in to us. And then if we have time, we might tackle some true crime. Because there's some pretty strange stuff going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I saw a few headlines that I was like, okay, we need to talk about this. Are you ready, Dylan? Let's get into a listener story.
I can't wait.
I know, they're always great. I was actually showing you earlier, I'd copied and pasted an email from one of our listeners. And I was kind of giggling because she'd put emojis in the email, and then it copied and pasted it into my document. But for some reason, the emojis were huge.
Yeah.
So it was just like a huge laughy face or whatever next to the tiny text. I was like, I don't know why I did that, but it's kind of funny. All right. Are you ready, Dylan? Let's get into it. I just had coffee. I'm really hyper. Dear Mountain Murders, here's a story for your show. I never wanted to teach middle school. Okay, well, I never wanted to teach middle school either, so we have that in common. I wanted to teach high school, literature maybe, a creative writing class, but jobs were tight when I graduated, and an intermediate school had a vacancy and a desperation that matched mine. The school was old, brick and iron, built in the early 1930s with radiators that groaned and floors that were warped. My classroom was on the top of a 3-level building near the far end of the hall. On my first day, the custodian, Mr. Henderson, handed me a key and said, 3E, all yours. Just don't be in there too late.
Oh, gosh.
I thought it was a joke. A weird one. I laughed. He didn't. The first few weeks passed in a haze, lesson plans, and new name memorization, getting the overhead projector to work. But I hadn't noticed things. Chalk writing on the board that I hadn't made. The projector turned itself on during my lunch period. Cold drafts that didn't match the season, especially given the air conditioning barely worked in the building. Oof. That sucks.
And being on the third floor, third level.
Yeah.
You're catching all that heat.
I'm imagining this stuffy, hot classroom. Sometimes the kids would stop talking all at once and glance at the back corner of the room. At least 2 teachers asked me how things were going. In my classroom. One of the teachers, Mrs. L, I'll call her, finally offered up some information about my infamous classroom. Apparently, when the school was first constructed, my classroom had been a high school music room. The story went that the male teacher was having an affair with a female student who became pregnant. When he refused to be with her, she jumped out the window.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, I didn't think much of it. Then some days passed. I stayed late grading essays. The halls emptied, the lights started flickering overhead, and I told myself I was going to leave soon. I heard it around 6:30 p.m., a soft humming, like a woman's voice. It was coming from the area of my supply closet in the back corner. The air changed, not cold, but pressurized, like the room was holding its breath. I stood up, my heart knocking in my ribs, and walked to the corner of the room where the sound was strongest. I touched the door and the singing stopped. I stumbled back, knocking over a small table. I grabbed my bag and ran. The next morning, the supply closet had been rearranged. No one believed me, of course. I stayed there for 4 years teaching, never staying past 5:30 p.m. I leave the back corner closet alone for the most part. But I started incorporating a unit on urban legends / ghost stories and let the kids research. They loved it, and of course, they love the school's ghost story. The subject matter would probably be inappropriate in today's classroom. I enjoy the show, Sharon.
Oh my gosh, Sharon. And can I say you would have been a great creative writing teacher? Because I could really I thought her descriptions of the school and the room, it was very good.
And what a cool idea. Because I imagine as a middle schooler, if we had had the opportunity to research like urban legends or ghost stories, that would have been my jam.
Yeah.
Like, how fun would that be? You know, it seems like so many old like school buildings and even universities have these kind of haunted ghost stories or these like little urban legends that are attached to the school buildings.
Well, you know, it's the way I see it. This is actually, I think this is going to be good. Everybody write this down. Ghost stories and legends and all that follow life and where life happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All
Go
right.
ahead and let that sink in.
It's very deep.
No, but I mean, it's always somewhere that's very important, place that is important to people, where they spend a lot of energy. You know, I don't know.
All right. So,
Oh my gosh, you didn't like it. It was not profound for her. But Sharon, I would have been so scared.
look, you make so many profound statements
Yeah, I know.
all day, every day.
You run out of ink, don't you?
I just, I can't muster up the enthusiasm because I'm so overwhelmed.
Wow.
Well, I'm just so overwhelmed with all the profoundness, right?
You feel very profound.
It's like it weighs on me.
But I would have been terrified
Fuck yeah.
to experience that.
Dude, I don't want to hear singing or humming.
Chanting, any
And
of
I'm
that.
definitely not brave enough to go like touch the door, I don't think,
Damn.
if I hear humming or singing. I know Saturday night we had friends over and our wonderful friend baked a pineapple carrot cake, which was the most delicious thing I've ever had in my entire life. Thank
Very
you for
good.
that.
Very good.
But there were multiple times that the attic door was open. I kept coming in to the house to like grab food or grab a drink or, you know, whatever. And the attic door was continuously open. And I kept asking you, like, were you in the attic? And you kept telling me no. So that was odd. That's the only time I'm going to go over and touch the door because I'm going to try to close it and make sure it doesn't open again. 'Cause
Okay.
It's weird because I don't like it when the attic door opens.
I don't like any doors operating without me doing it.
Well, not when it does it like 5 or 6 times in a row. It seriously did it like all day and all night. And I don't know why.
Well,
There's no reason for the attic door to just be swinging open.
this house is fairly tight, and anytime
Yeah,
the
it is.
systems kick on, the HVAC,
That's
things
what
like
he
that,
said.
it will move windows and doors. So I really do think that's what's happening in that instance.
Yeah, I don't think so, but whatever.
And that's why there's a lock on the inside of the house going to the attic. Makes total sense, right?
Yeah. That's why someone had it padlocked.
From the
closed.
inside,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. All right, Dylan. This is sent in by, it's just signed BT. BT does not want us to use his real name. Haha. Are you ready? I spent a good amount of time solo backpacking in the wilderness. I've also done a lot of truck camping in desolate spots, and I've only ever had something happen that truly scared me one time. It was late October, a cold that settles in your bones, even under layers. I was hiking the trail alone, my annual fall camping trip. The Bald was my favorite place to camp. Cell signals always died about 2 miles before the trailhead, which was part of the appeal. I made my camp by dusk, built a small fire, and settled in with a paperback and some beef jerky. Around midnight, something cracked in the woods. Not like a twig, but something heavy. I froze, ears straining. I'd been here many times before, and I was more concerned I'd be forced to share this premier camping spot with a lost hiker. A second crack came, slower, deliberate. I turned off my lantern and let the fire burn slow. Then came the smell. It was thick and wet like rotting moss and dead meat.
Oh, whoa, whoa. No, not the smell. Thick and wet.
It made my stomach turn. I heard breathing, not panting, not snorting, just long, low exhales. I stayed still, every nerve in my body tight as tripwire. Then I saw it. It stepped onto the edge of the clearing just beyond the firelight. 7 feet tall, maybe more, broad shoulders, arms long enough to brush its knee. The fur looked coarse and matted, not a human, but not entirely animal either. It stood there, curious. It felt intelligent. We looked at each other for about 10 seconds. It didn't growl or charge, just stood there. Then it turned and melted into a fog that had slowly started covering the bald.
Damn.
When I tell you I didn't sleep a wink, I mean it. I packed up and hiked out at dawn without breakfast. I don't need anyone to believe me because I know what I saw. And it's signed BT.
Damn, BT, that was a Sam Squinch.
Yeah?
That was Bigfoot, dude. Look, and look, I don't know if people have heard the theories
A swamp ape.
of Bigfoot being an interdimensional being or
I
a
think
traveler.
it's a plausible theory.
This really answers all the questions. Why don't we find their bodies? Why don't we find any real signs of them? Because, think about it. If you go to the national park for the day, right, you and your family, and you're not an asshole, and you take your trash with you, you try to stay on trail, you don't break branches or mess with the flowers. No one really knew you were there, right? At the end of the day, you left no sign. You were there briefly. There's no evidence of you having ever existed there. So yeah, maybe this creature. I don't know if BT thinks this was an encounter with a Sasquatch or not, a Bigfoot, a Sam Squinch, if you will, for the Trailer Park Boy references. But this is what I think it sounds like. But yeah, they're interdimensional beings or whatever, and they come here and they visit, and then boom, that's why they can melt, disappear, or you never see any signs of them. And they are truly intelligent and way more advanced than we are.
Well, here's the thing.
They just look like animals to us.
Now, I know we don't really have any definitive proof, and there is like video and photographic evidence, but is it really evidence? I mean, some of that I think can be staged.
All the famous stuff has been known to be hoaxes or admitted later.
But here's the thing, Dylan, that I guess always gets me about cryptids is that you have a group of people who have witnessed these events, seeing these animal beings, whatever you want to call them, like in the outdoor space.
Right.
And there's so many people who claim like they've seen some kind of creature that at some point, like, you have to think maybe it is real because if you come out and say, hey, I saw a Bigfoot, you're probably going to get ridiculed. Everyone's going to laugh at you. People are going to think you're ridiculous. They're going to tell you need to seek help, whatever. So I just think a lot of times it would be really difficult for people to come out and admit that they saw something that they know they're going to get like ragged on about. And it almost seems like, yeah, they could be doing it for attention and there are these hoaxes, but do you really want your name attached to something like that? I mean, I think most people don't want to be considered like a fool. So I think it's like kind of brave for people to come forward when they believe they've seen something like this.
No, I agree.
Because of the reaction.
I agree completely. And, and there
are a lot of things in this world that are unexplainable.
Well,
on top of it,
the Bigfoot is one of those things that transcends cultures and, and time. There's a story similar to this all over the world for hundreds of years. So that also gives me a pause or makes me wonder, is there some kind of truth to it?
Well, look, the other day I saw a video of what looked like a UFO flying up out of the ocean. And I believe it was captured by like a Navy pilot. So I'm just saying, as much as we want to be like, oh, that's foolishness or that's silly, we don't know really. I mean, I think there's a lot we don't know about our world and we don't have all the answers and we don't know the secrets of the universe or really what is our purpose and why are we here. Not that I'm filled with existential birthday dread or anything like that, but we don't have all the answers. So I think it's just always good to have an open mind about these things.
Well, think about it. The Earth is mostly ocean.
Yes.
Right, 2/3.
We really don't know a whole lot about the ocean.
And the saying goes,
in the grand scheme of things.
We know more about outer space than we do the ocean.
Well, Katy Perry does. She's an astronaut.
She's an astronaut. 2 S's. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so it would really make sense. I mean, if you thought about it, if something was going to hide on the Earth, it to be in the ocean. I mean, that, and look, I've seen so many stories and declarations and admissions on UFOs or UAPs, whatever you want to call them, in the last 2 years, I'm desensitized to it. I mean, you can show me video of the beings in the mall or whatever.
Oh, bless Wolfie. Him sneezing.
Oh,
him sneezy boy.
I'm just a little scratchy boy.
Whiff. Oh, goodness.
Bless it.
Okay.
Those beings there at that mall or whatever in Miami. I mean, do you remember that story? And there was
I mean, what
that huge police
little bit of information you could get out of
Right.
Yes.
but anyway,
Yes, I do remember that.
I've almost been desensitized because there's so much of it now, and I'm just wondering. It's like, I wonder if the aliens waited too long, if they wanted like to make a big splash, because in this day and age, it's almost like it's on the back page. It's not even a lead story anymore.
No, but I do hope it's an introduction like in the Monsters versus Alien movie
Yeah.
where the president, that's like Steve Colbert, plays the piano or the little keyboard, and it's the Axel Foley theme song.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Because that's definitely a song that I think will unite species.
Right.
It's a bop.
It is a
Right.
bop.
All right.
Thank you, BT, for that.
Ooh, creepy.
God, that's scary.
I don't want to smell the rotted meat.
It was the smell. The thick, wet
Matted
smell.
fur. I mean, you know it's going to smell
Well, yeah.
with its matted fur.
I bet it itches.
Ew. There is a film that was released in the last year or so.
Oh, God, no.
I can't even think of what it's called. It's like Sunrise.
Sunrise of the Bigfoot or something like that.
I don't know. But it has like some famous people in it. Like I want to say Jesse Eisenberg might be in it. But it is ridiculous. It follows a family of Bigfoots.
Right.
Or would you say big feets?
Yeah, I
Is
think
it plural?
it's Big Fi.
Okay, so it follows like a family of these like Bigfoots around, kind of showing their life in the woods. And they're just like fucking and shitting in front of each other. It's very in front of their little Bigfoot. It's a very strange movie. I kind of can't believe I wasted an hour and a half watching it.
I can't believe you made it through the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but it was just like it was so.
You couldn't look away.
It was just so gross and weird that I had to watch it. It was like The Greasy Strangler. Like I just couldn't look away. You know how I love like a grotesque film.
Right.
All right, moving along here. Our third story of the day. Dear Dylan and Heather, I've wanted to share the story with your podcast. My sister worked with a woman who went missing. She was last seen leaving their place of employment. Well, it turns out the security guard, who was one of the last people to see her alive, had a pending charge for, quote, accidentally killing his girlfriend.
Damn.
The company didn't know about this arrest. He stayed employed there, though he was the main suspect in the woman's disappearance. But he was, I guess there was never enough evidence to charge him. If I remember correctly, they searched his house and car, but never found any DNA or blood. He ended up serving like 3 years on a plea deal for manslaughter in the girlfriend's death. And as far as I can tell, the missing woman has never been found, but I do think the family had her declared dead. My sister said the security guard was one of the nicest people she'd ever met. Everyone was shocked to hear about the girlfriend and his possible connection to their missing coworker.
Holy cow.
And this is in Michigan, apparently. So hello there in Michigan.
Hello, Michigan.
And she just signed it. Rescue girl. She is an emergency services.
Oh, okay.
Tech, so EMT.
Wow, Rescue Girl. You brought a new, it's a hard thing to do because we've seen it all in the listener stories over the years, but I think this might be a new category. Missing person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's scary.
Well, what's really scary, I mean, absolutely. So I'm assuming this guy's continuing to work at this business despite the fact that he's been charged with this murder or accidental death or whatever.
Something that he would plead manslaughter.
And that he's able to get out on bail or bond or whatever and then just go back to work like nothing happened. And everybody, I mean, nobody there is going to know.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty scary to think that one of your coworkers could be a dangerous person and you have no idea.
Well, and especially when they're working in the capacity of security. Because, people want to kind of, chuckle when somebody has a security job like it's, some kind of just dumb job. But it's actually a pretty big deal because on site, You have all the access. You know all the procedures. You know about all the surveillance. I mean, you know a lot of stuff. And you're in a fairly powerful position when you are on security for a site.
Well, and I guess depending on when this was, I mean, you might, if it didn't make the news or you lived a few towns over, I mean, you might not know.
You wouldn't.
So then you're just going to go to work every day with this person thinking you can trust them?
That's scary.
Well, what's really eerie, too, is that she's saying, like, he's one of the nicest people. My sister said he was so nice.
Yeah.
Nicest person. It's very unsettling when you hear these stories of someone and they're described as being just like the nicest, sweetest person, and then you find out they're like a maniac.
Yeah.
It's really scary, dude.
Dude, I was just listening to this story. This man walked away from his family, faked his own death. So his wife and 2 sons thought he died, right? And went and moved to Galveston, Texas, because, I don't know, they were in, upper Midwest or something, and started a new life. And the people there, under assumed name and identity, and the people in Galveston thought he was just the greatest guy. He was involved in local government. Everybody loved, Tim or whatever his new name, fake name was. And then it comes out later that he had walked away from his family and let them think that, he's dead. But then she couldn't get any death benefits because he wasn't officially no declaration of death. No death benefits for her sons. Her whole life's in turmoil financially. And she just, had to kind of rebuild her life for years after and had just this rough road. And this guy starts this new life with the kind of this upper crust social crowd. And everybody just loves Tim the Bachelor. And I was like, that's something a fucking psychopath would do. But the people are still like, oh, yeah, after we found out, we was like, well, but I just judge him, off of what I've seen him do and what I know about him. I'm like, that would really cloud my idea of how someone was, right?
Look, Dylan, I know this
because it takes a real psychopath to do something.
Well, I
like
think
that.
this may come to a shock, or may come as a shock to you, Dylan. But just having been exposed to social media for a couple of years, I've come to realize, maybe I've been giving people too much credit because they're really not as smart as you might want them to be.
Right.
I think the average person maybe is not so bright because some of it doesn't seem to be common sense. Some of the stuff I see people like supporting doesn't really make sense.
Well, I don't know if it's so much the intelligence, it's the lack of empathy that seems to be more of a widespread problem.
I think empathy comes with intelligence.
Really? You think so?
I do.
Think there's a correlation?
Well, yeah. I think you have to have a certain intelligence and maturity and understanding to be empathetic.
Because you have to imagine what the other person feels like or be able to kind of go outside of yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm very empathetic. What does that say? So smart.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You also have a trauma brain where you can't remember anything.
What? I saw something about that. It's people decide to not remember anything. That's a sign of a really strong personality.
Because I can tell you the same thing 5 times in a row, and then you'd be like, huh?
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Trust. I live with you every damn day. All right, Dylan, moving along. I wanted to say how much I love the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been my go-to on a long commute, late night laundry, and those days I pretend to clean just so I can listen to another episode. Your mix of research and humor is pure gold. I found myself quoting you in conversation like we're best friends when I say to someone, you're a damn lie. And by the way, we are best friends even if you don't know it yet.
Oh.
All the best, Marnie. I have included this for a listener ep. All right, Marnie, thank you so much. We are besties. You're invited to my birthday party that I'm having by myself right now.
Yeah, come on over, Marnie.
This was about 10 years ago. I met him through a mutual friend on Facebook. He messaged me, harmless enough. He was handsome and polite. At the time, I had been single for several months and was ready to get back in the saddle. After weeks of conversation, we agreed to meet at a bar near my apartment. It started off fine. He was attentive, asked a lot of questions, maybe too many questions. He also knew things that I hadn't told him, little details from my social media that I didn't even remember posting, like the name of my childhood dog, Dolly.
Oh, damn. Dude's like 6 years back on the social media thread.
Yes, I named her after Dolly Parton, as you should. Let's see, where I'd gone to college, etc. He laughed it off by saying, I'm just really good at research. I told myself to relax. People search each other in these types of situations. I mean, it's weird, but not illegal. We left the bar around 10, and he offered to walk me to my car, which was parked in the rear parking lot. You had to go down a short but narrow alley next to the building to get to this parking lot. And as we walked, he got quiet. There was a heavy, awkward silence between us, probably even more off-putting since he talked the entire date. Did she go on a date with you?
No.
Are you sure? Because you never snowed off.
I wouldn't have stopped talking in the alley.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I would have still been talking.
You would have, yes. When we got to the car, he blocked the door and said, "You look just like her."
What? Hold on a second, dude. It's like Psycho or some shit, bro.
Oh, wait, Dylan. I asked who he meant, but he didn't answer, just stared at me. I laughed nervously and tried to step around him. He moved with me so that I couldn't really open the door. "You don't have to be scared. I wouldn't hurt you," he said. With that, I didn't wait for context. I shoved him really hard, jerked the door open, and jumped in. I immediately hit lock on the car doors. He didn't do anything, just stood there with a blank look on his face. I drove away and never looked back. I reported it to police because I was scared. There wasn't anything they could do. He hadn't touched me or violated any laws. He had made no threats. They suggested that I just block him on social media, and if I heard from him again, maybe they could intervene. Now, a few weeks later, I bumped into our mutual friend at a party. I mentioned the date. My friend had no idea who this, quote, mutual friend was. I was surprised because the date guy had known a lot of details about my friend's life, which made me think they were friends in real life. She had no idea who he was and said she must have just accepted his friend request without knowing him. He was not her friend. She didn't know him at all. I had him blocked, but when we tried to pull up his account on her Facebook page, he was no longer friends with her, and we couldn't find his profile at all despite searching his name. The experience made me wary of social media, and now I take precautions and never post my location in real time.
Damn.
And that was signed Haley N.
Oh my God, Haley. I believe you dodged the proverbial bullet.
Well, okay, the fact this person went to the extreme of like knowing all this information about the friend to paint a picture like he's friends with this other person.
Well, more than social media friends, like they really know the person.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's devious.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
It is.
Yeah. I'm glad you got out of there, girl. You jerked that door open. Push him down.
She said, I'm not going to be in a final girl situation or something.
Hell no.
She got the hell out and never looked back. And honestly, I think that was the best choice in that situation.
That is a bad date.
Even if it was just something that could have been laughed off or like it was some, but it doesn't sound it to me.
No.
That sounds really weird to me.
It sounds really weird to me.
Like no one's going to block someone, especially they just met. Or you shouldn't ever, but from getting in their car or in a dark, no.
I don't want someone staring me deep in my eyes going, "You look just like her." Like, what?
No. That's the creepiest shit I've ever heard.
Well, I'm sorry for her. Gosh. Yeah. Weird. Damn. All right. Now, we have Tasha, and I actually have two. Tasha actually sent us 2 stories.
Damn, look at Tasha putting in work.
So I'm going to read both of them.
Okay.
So we can take our time here, Dylan. You don't have to share on your podcast, but it definitely would be cool if you did. No, we're here for it. So first, I'll give you the backstory on our cabin. When my husband bought the house, he got it from the bank. It was a foreclosure. but they had to disclose a little part of the history of the house. The guy who owned the house before him was apparently drugging young girls, including his own children, and assaulting them.
Essaying them.
Yes. If I remember right, one of the girls turned him in and he was going to jail. But before they could get here to take him, he sat in our living room and shot himself in the head. They cleaned up as best they could, but my husband says they still had to scrub a little bit of brain matter off of the log that the bullet lodged in. So they were clearly having a hard time selling it, and my husband and a friend decided they were going to buy it and flip it. Okay, that's creepy.
No, that's not weird. But I guess if you'll notice over here a little brain matter on the wall.
Now, when we got married and I saw it, I fell in love with this house. Okay, so anyway, we were moving into the cabin and out of our house on the lake. Well, I'm jealous that you had a house on the lake.
Damn, and they're moving into a log cabin?
And why were we not friends, and why did you not invite me over, Tasha? Now, my daughter was at the cabin by herself, and we were finishing up getting the last load from the lake when apparently I missed a call from my daughter. I also received a panicky text message to call her ASAP. So I called her, and she said, "Mama, Casper is playing games, and I don't want to play." And I quickly responded with, "Well, is he playing reindeer games?" She said, "Yes." And I died laughing and said, "Really?" She said yes and sent me the picture below. It just randomly fell off the wall in our living room, she said. "Call the preacher." By this point, I'm rolling. She actually had a friend come stay with her until we got home, which made it even funnier. We got home and my husband looked and the screw was just loose. So a deer had actually fallen off the wall.
Oh.
Onto the floor.
A mount?
Yes.
A taxidermy
Yes.
mount? Okay.
So when she said, "Are you playing reindeer games?" it literally was a deer that had fallen.
Wow.
Yeah. We came home and this, she sent a picture, by the way, but I can't show you the picture because we're a podcast. We came home and this was hanging in the place of the deer and he was still on the floor. So we had to take her picture with a ghostly deer as seen in the third pic. So hope you enjoyed our third story. And by the way, did I mention that my daughter is 21?
Damn.
So she's freaking out and there's a deer on the floor.
Yeah, well, that's a little weird.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't want to think about somebody's brain matter being lodged in a bullet hole in my wood beam or something, you know? All right, so our next story is, so it's me again, but I had to share this. So my now ex-husband and I had only been married about 5 months, and he kept bringing home weird stuff that he said his friend gave him. I'm talking t-shirts, sweatshirts, and even an Xbox with games. So I asked about his friend and who they were. So he told me, and it was a girl. I can't remember her name. Between chemo brain and old age, I can't remember a lot of things. So anyway, I asked him to take me to meet this girl. And he did that day because my stubborn, redheaded self didn't want to wait. So we go to her little shop and get out of the car. We walk over and he introduces us and I reach out to shake her hand and said, "Nice to meet you." I was trying to be nice, as hard as it was. This heifer stood there giving me the dirtiest look you can imagine. Oh, hell no. Girl, that's your husband.
No, hold
That's
on a
your
second.
man.
Got all these little gifts and shit?
Dr. Phil, that's your man.
Yeah.
So I just stand beside my husband as they talked. She made a smart comment towards me every now and then. I would grit my teeth and smile as best I could, but I'm a redhead, and if my mouth doesn't say it, then my face does. So, Dylan, I think you have that problem sometimes.
Yeah.
Because your face just does what it does. Like, even if you're trying not to be obvious, I feel like we can't hide your face.
No, sometimes my face gets out of control. And especially if someone's being like really stupid or something.
Yes.
It's
There have been a few times that I'm like, oh my gosh, your face is giving away what we're all thinking, Dylan. So we finally decide to leave, and as I'm getting in the car and started shutting the door, she popped off with another comment that I didn't hear. He said something, and I couldn't hear that either. He gets in the car, and as we're going down the road, I'm pissed. He looks at me and says, "So what do you think?"
This is such a dude move, bro. Like, there's been all these shots fired across the bow this whole time. These women, it's obviously some kind of a power play on the friend's part or something, or she doesn't like her. I've witnessed this many times between women, and it's such a dude move to not catch any of that shit, right? None of the snide comments.
I think y'all catch it, but you just have this affinity for playing dumb. Like somehow you're not going to have to deal with it if you just act like you don't. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, him
Yeah.
getting in the car and saying, "So what do you think?" He was oblivious. He missed it. I'm sorry, he missed it. He's a goofball. And that doesn't now once you bring it to his attention and point some things out, he should be offended as well, but that's on him.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, can you not tell what I'm thinking? But I respond by telling him she was rude as hell. And he defends her, saying she was not. And right then, I definitely knew that my gut feeling was right and that he was seeing this girl. So we get home and the argument started. He decided he was leaving, and I was just like, bye, asshole. So my investigative skills kicked in, and I found her address and drove past her house only to see his car there. Damn. So now I'm really pissed. 4th of July comes and he tells me that he has a job interview that night at 8 p.m. with the government. I'm like, oh, okay. Because let's face it, I was waiting for my next check and I was going to be out. I get with a friend of mine and borrow her car because I was totally going to follow him and he didn't know my friend's car. Unfortunately,
Dude, they went swamp crawling on his ass.
He left before I could get there. Have you ever done that before? Because I'm not going to lie, I've totally staked out a possible cheater.
No, I've never personally done it, but I know that women are very good at it, especially if they have their sister or like their bestie or something with them. Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, I have a friend and her mother's husband was acting strangely after, years of marriage. And so we used my car because he wouldn't know my car and like staked out like his job and then drove over to like 3 towns away or 4 towns away where his ex-wife lived because he sort of started being chummy with his ex-wife again.
And there he was.
And we were like driving around like looking at her house and stuff and following him.
Did you bust him?
No, but he did eventually leave and go back to his first wife, the ex-wife.
So you were on to something.
That he had been divorced from for like 20 something years. I mean, it was very strange. Anywho, but yeah, we were trying to be all stealthy, and they probably were like, "Why are these 2 teenage girls sitting on our driveway?"
Well, maybe look, I might have been giving Dude too much credit earlier. Maybe he was playing dumb because I mean he knows what the deal is if he's this deep in.
Okay, we're not done yet. So he left, right? Because he went to that government job interview on the 4th of July.
At 8.
Yeah.
On a holiday.
Because like the Department of the Interior only wants to interview you on major holidays. Now,
dude, this is the one for one, it's the evening. Not going to happen. On a holiday, which the government and all banks notoriously take every single one of.
Why do I feel like this is some kind of damn lie you'd be trying to tell me?
Baby,
now, Tasha, I hope you told him you would damn lie.
Tasha, I would have been way more intelligent and skilled if I was trying to run game on you than this guy. Come on.
Oh, that's good to know.
Well, no, I'm just saying, this guy's a dumbass.
So, what if she's still married to him? No, she's not.
I don't think so.
Hours and hours pass by, and he comes in at 3 a.m. wearing his cowboy boots, jeans, and a T-shirt. Very awesome interview outfit, by the way.
3 a.m.
That was a long-ass interview. Maybe they wanted him to do like an agility test or something, right? He thought I was asleep, and I wanted him to think that, so I didn't say a word until he laid down, and I asked how it went. He said, good, I think, and not another word. So the next day, he goes to his parents' house about a mile or 2 down the road from us. He says they want him to house sit for a week. I'm like, that's great. Have fun because I'm not going to go. So I stay home and he goes, and a couple of days later he asked if I wanted to come and eat pizza with him at his parents' house. So I went. We sat down to eat, and here it comes. He says, I'm going to work for the government in the alien department. Yes, he really said this. And this is where the emojis come in because there's a giant like face palm emoji in the middle of my screen.
And there's also pictures of Greys.
And some aliens.
The big head and the black eyes.
Yes. Which makes it even funnier because it's so huge in my in my document here. Let's see. So I'm trying to keep a straight face. We go sit on the couch and I ask him the ultimate question. So what will you be doing? And he said, and y'all, I swear he said, quote, I can't tell you because it's classified, but I'm guessing he didn't expect my response. And I was like, oh, I get it. My dad used to work for the government in that same department. Now, he didn't, but that fool didn't know that. And he said, "Oh, well, what did he do?" And I responded with, "I can't tell you. It's classified."
Damn, Tasha.
But I told him that my dad retired from there and he had a lot of stories that he could only tell us, but we could never tell anyone else. So he walks me outside and I'm about to get in my car. And he said the words I never in a million years expected. He says, quote, "So you'd be okay if I had to go up there?" And y'all, he was literally pointing at the sky when he said it. And I'm trying to control my face and holding my laughter. And I said, "Oh, yeah, no problem. My dad used to have to go." And she's got another finger pointing emoji.
Up there.
Up there.
Oh, my God.
Up there, too. And he asked if he ever took us. And I said, yes. And he said, "So you would go with me if they let me bring you, up there?" I said, "I sure will." So we said goodbye and I got in my car. And as soon as I got out of his sight, I called my best friend and told her the story. She's dying laughing and asking how I could keep a straight face. At that moment, I told her I couldn't wait any longer, that I had to move because this was ridiculous. So she asked if she could have a yard sale at my house. And I said, yes. And she said, whenever I got the moving truck there, that we would load up the stuff and she could help me. So the next morning he had to go to work early and I was going to the U-Haul place to get my truck when I passed by that heifer shop and he was there. So me and 8 of my friends packed and loaded that truck and my other friend's Mustang and went to unload it, and I dropped off the truck on my way back and went by the house to make sure I didn't miss anything, and he pulled in. Before we left, I confronted him on his alien bull. I told him the requirements to work for the government, and he didn't meet those. I know because I actually had a friend that does work for the government. Go figure, right? I also informed him that the government doesn't do job interviews on Saturdays or the 4th of July. And even if they...
Wait, that was a Saturday too?
Yes. And even if they did, you couldn't wear your jeans and t-shirt and cowboy boots to an interview. And this is my alien encounter. My friend and I often joke about going, well, up there. A couple of months later, I typed up our divorce papers and had my friend walk in a restaurant where him and the heifer were eating to serve him the papers. She walked out and he asks my friend if there's anything bad in there, and she said no. She didn't know because she hadn't read them. She showed him where to sign and he signed, and she left, and of course we laughed. I went to the courthouse and filed my divorce. I was free. Did you cite and not irreconcilable differences, but up there?
Jesus.
Dylan,
what?
Would you go with me up there?
I don't know, but that might be one of the best, dumbest reasons for being unavailable to your loved one.
This is funny.
Because I've been, it's not even abducted. I actually agreed. This is outlined in my my job, my tasks and job responsibilities.
This is in your contract.
And will be part of my, 6-month review, whether or not I went willingly.
I'm going to work in the alien department.
Up there.
Is it just called the alien department?
I like how she didn't miss a beat. Oh, my dad worked for them, actually. The same department.
Did you ever go up there? What?
Oh, my gosh.
I feel like I need a follow-up, like what ended up happening to this guy.
I'm sure it's...
Did he and the heifer get married?
Yeah.
Did he go work for the alien department?
Yeah. Well, maybe all the heifer was just cover for what was really happening.
Maybe she was an alien.
Yeah.
Maybe she was. Maybe she's like a reptilian in just human heifer skin.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe she's from the planet Skankerter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of that planet. A lot of hosts be from there. Got to watch the Ho-Zone around that planet.
The Ho-Zone. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Dylan. Well, we do have a few things as far as true crime news to touch on, just because there's some strange stuff going on in the world. So I thought maybe we could do a quick discussion of some of these things, and then we can wrap it up. Are you ready?
That was some good listener stories.
They're always good. I'm going to laugh about the alien department for a long time. Dylan, this story is so strange that I felt like we needed to talk about it. So, a Florida man could face the death penalty if convicted of murdering a minor that he met through the dating app Grindr. 35-year-old Stephen Gress is charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping in connection with the death of a 16-year-old named Miranda Corsett. A search warrant alleges that Corsett met with Gress at his home in St. Petersburg on February 14th after the pair chatted on Grindr, and then she returned the following day. 10 days later, on February 24th, Corsett was reported missing to the Gulfport Police Department. On that day, Gress allegedly told detectives that he dismembered and decapitated Corsett's corpse before tossing her remains in a dumpster. At the time of her death, Corsett had been beaten on a daily basis for a week.
My God.
Gress allegedly told police he had sent photos of the teenager's worsening injuries to a few acquaintances and his own mother. One of the individuals who received those alleged images from Gress shared them with the St. Petersburg Police Department, who described the photos in the search warrant. So there was a total of 5 photographs, and in each photograph, Corsett looked to be in increasingly worse physical condition. She was nude in each photograph and had bruises and marks on most of her body. And in the last photograph, her head was so swollen that she was almost unrecognizable.
My God.
In the interview, I guess with detectives from the police department, Gress allegedly confessed to beating the teenager after he suspected her of stealing his ring.
This guy should be drawn and quartered for doing someone like that.
Dude, it gets worse. Just wait. Gress stated that for the better part of a week, he, quote, lumped her up. I guess that's his weird way of saying he beat her up.
Continuously.
Lumped her up. I've never heard that phrase.
Injury on top of injury.
Gress stated that he explained to Corsett that he had just gotten out of prison and he had never had anything of value in his life, so the ring was very special to him and that he was not willing to let her steal this ring from him. He also claimed that he pleaded with Corsett to get his ring back and that she would just mock him. At some point, Gress called his girlfriend, 35-year-old Michelle Brandes, and asked her to help him retrieve this ring. She allegedly began beating Corsett as well, and according to claims by both Gress and a third roommate who often stayed at the house, it was Brandes, I don't know how you say her last name, ultimately killed the girl. That this woman took a ball from a pool table in the backyard, put it in a sock and shoved it down Corsett's throat and then wrapped her face in plastic wrap.
Damn. That's brutal.
Yeah. The third roommate also alleged to police that Gress was, quote, very abusive and would find disadvantaged women and girls who were either homeless or addicted to drugs when he was trying to pick up women. And then he would, of course, turn around and be very abusive to those women. In an interview with police, the third roommate also said that she felt the girlfriend, Brandes, had taken the ring in order to get Gress to not like this girl because she was jealous. And that this was all kind of planned, just to be able to beat this girl to death.
Well, yeah, and it sounds, from what she was willing to do to the girl in the end, that sounds very plausible, right?
So on February 23rd, the third roommate traveled with the couple and Corsett's corpse to the home of Michelle Brandes' mother. The warrant says once there, Gress allegedly decapitated and dismembered Corsett's body while the girlfriend placed the remains in trash bags. And then the three traveled to Popeyes and had some chicken, because that's what you do after you decapitate and dismember someone.
How you just going around with these people like, okay, sure, let's go hit the Dollar General and then swing by your mom's place and dismember this body?
Somebody needs to explain this to me, Dylan. So then they go to Popeyes after this, and they played miniature golf to celebrate Michelle's birthday, all while Corsett's remains were in the trunk of the car. Now, according to the affidavit, the trio then drove to the census-designated place of Ruskin to dispose of the body. So in total, they drove about 50 miles with the teen's body in the car. So a few days after this, the third roommate alleges that the girlfriend, Michelle, came to her and said she had found Gress's ring in her car, but she was afraid to give it to him.
Oh, imagine that.
And the third roommate believes that the girlfriend had the ring all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the third roommate might be right.
So both defendants are set to be arraigned on April 24th. But that story, I read that and was just like, what? What is wrong with people?
I mean,
That is absolutely horrific. This poor girl. But just on top of it, to have some old dumbass like mastermind this, I'm going to steal this ring because it'll make him mad and he'll beat her.
well, just
I
the
mean, what are you doing?
dismembering, which is very, very next level, as we've said many times, next level monstrosity or deviant behavior. Going around getting food, because I wouldn't have much of an appetite personally, I don't think, if I was caught up in a situation like this, which I never would allow myself to be. And playing miniature golf, just driving nonchalantly around with a dismembered body in your trunk. And just hanging out, making a day of it.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
These people are monsters.
They have to be.
You have to be. You have to be a sociopath at the very least. I mean, I guess you could argue this is full-on psychopathy. But you have to be able to just go on about your time and day with this horrendous, horrible stuff.
It's very disturbing.
How are you going to beat on someone for a week? Just keep on hurting them when they're already not even healed up from where you beat them the day before. That's insanity.
It's just despicable.
And I just don't get how you take some people like this, but once they end up in the system and in jail, I don't understand how other people will be like, but their rights. Man, fuck that. I don't think you threw away all your rights when you did this stuff to a fucking teenage girl. Period. You don't have any more rights. Ever. God.
I know. There's somebody out there crying for this poor man.
Well, he needs some cable channels and a chance to get a degree. He can never apply because he's in jail for life.
Yeah.
But then our kids out here are having trouble getting fucking access to community college. Make it make sense to me.
It doth not make sense, Dylan. Have you heard about this possibility of a serial killer in New England?
I have, but I felt like you dug into this a little bit and you had some thoughts, so go ahead.
Well, people from across New England and users online are expressing concerns because multiple sets of human remains have been discovered recently in Connecticut and Rhode Island. So, of course, after, this information is divulged, rumors begin swirling about the bodies that were found, that kind of thing. And this comes after the Groton Police Department in Connecticut reported last month that human remains were found on Mitchell Street, adjacent to the entrance of Colonial Cemetery, just 2 blocks away from Allen Street. Police said it was a woman that was deceased. And now people are worried that a new discovery on Mitchell Street and this matter being investigated out on Allen Street may be connected and could be criminal in nature. But police haven't announced whether or not they think these 2 cases are connected. But these rumors have been fueled in part by the fact that police in Providence, Rhode Island announced that they had pulled a dead man from a river, Woonatucket.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to say from the river.
Let's just stick with river.
They pulled him from the river. No evidence has been presented in connecting this Providence discovery to the one in Groton last month or the active investigation that's going on this week. But of course, that has not stopped people from weighing in. Police are also investigating possible human remains in Danielson, which were discovered earlier this month. So, you've got multiple sets of human remains being found kind of in areas that are not that far from each other. So,
right.
Of course, that's going to fuel some speculation. I think that's natural.
What do you think?
I've looked into it a little bit, and I don't really know if I think it's a serial killer because...
Well, what was the main point you told me?
Well, the victims are different ages, different races,
different everything,
just different
vastly descriptions,
different. So that makes me think
different body types. Now that does not rule out a killer of opportunity.
No, it absolutely could be.
It could be a whole new or a quite different variety than we've seen in the past.
But I do think
Someone
people
is
are pretty quick to jump in that, it's a serial killer,
Right.
like just
Right.
because of the nature of, true crime popularity and social media today.
But this could be a killer driven purely by need to kill and opportunity, and then kind of throwing victim, the standards,
The victimology.
the victimology completely out the window,
Right.
which would be, it's scary, but it would be an interesting element to the case if that turned out to be the truth. But like you said, these are all remains of women, correct? All different ages and descriptions and things like that, and races. And it just points out again, if it's not, so here's the even scarier thought. If it's not connected,
Then you got multiple killers
you
out
got
there.
4 or 5 fucking murderers running around who murder women. So what's the least scary scenario here? Seriously, damn, because women are, we all know they're targets. They're of violent crime at the hands exclusively of men. Let's be honest. Now and again, you'll get a domestic or a lover's quarrel thing, or a jealousy situation where you have woman-on-woman violence in one form. Well, the story you just told us included that to a degree, but it's usually men killing women, and it's horrible.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? Yeah, I know. Okay. Moving along here. I feel like we have heard of this case, or just this type of case, over the past couple of years. Like, it happens a lot more than it should. And that is adult children murdering their parents after they're told they need to move out of the house.
Yeah.
Right? There have been multiple stories. Well, a 33-year-old woman in Florida is going to spend the rest of her life behind bars for killing her father and attempting to stab her mother after she was told she needed to move out. So on April 16th, a jury found Christine Adams guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and attempted first-degree murder with a deadly weapon, and a judge subsequently sentenced Adams to 2 life sentences for the murder of her 74-year-old father, Richard Langer, and then the attempted murder of another victim identified as the defendant's mother. September 16th of 2022, the Marion County Sheriff's Office responded to a possible stabbing at a home in Ocala and found the victims with stab wounds. As responders rendered aid, Langer told authorities that his daughter had stabbed them. Law enforcement then issued a bulletin. Officials performed traffic stops on Adams' vehicle. Adams' wife was also in the car at the time that she was pulled over. Investigators took Adams and her wife into custody for questioning. The spouse reportedly said she had finished errands and then met her wife at a grocery store. Adams' wife also alleged that she did not notice anything out of the norm for the defendant, nor did the defendant mention any prior altercations.
Damn.
So you're just going to kill your parents? You think you've killed both of them, and then just go meet your spouse at the grocery store and be like, wow, that's a really good deal on those pickles. We should get 2 jars. That's scary.
Very.
So Adams was living in a converted apartment on her parents' property. Her father told her she needed to move out so her other sibling could move in. And
You're 33, bro.
On the morning of the stabbing, Adams reportedly went to the main house to do laundry, and that's when her father told her, you need to move out by the next day. You've been told you need to be out of here by tomorrow. She went back to the apartment, put on gloves and shoe covers, retrieved a taser pin and a knife. She went back into the main house, shocked her father with the taser pin, then stabbed him in the arm. Her mother allegedly heard the commotion and went into the room to check on the situation, and that's when Adams stabbed her mother in the chest. She then proceeded to stab her father in the chest multiple times and assumed that both her parents were dead. So she washed clothes that she had been wearing, cleaned the knife with bleach before going to the grocery store to meet her wife, as if nothing had happened. Her father called 911 to report the stabbing and said that his wife was, quote, fading fast. Now, they were transported pretty quickly to the hospital. They both underwent surgery. Her father died from his injuries 2 days later. He was reportedly a veteran and a pilot and leaves behind 9 children.
Wow.
What is up with this? I mean, again, I feel like we've heard this situation several times with these adult children who refuse to move out and end up killing their parents.
You're 33,
because they're
dude.
told to get a job and leave.
33 going on 40. And you're not taking care of yourself yet? I mean, come on.
You're married.
Yeah, you
have a whole spouse.
You should be able to be able to support yourself and do your own thing.
I thought the whole idea of like getting married was, because you were in a financial position where you could support your spouse, right?
Dude,
or your partner.
When I was growing up, that was the goal, was to get your own place, no matter what that looked like. Some did it more successfully than others, but everyone did it. And you wanted to do it.
You wanted to do it, just like you wanted to get a driver's license.
Yes.
And you wanted to be on the road. It was freedom. Like you didn't want to live with your parents.
You didn't want to count on them for every single little thing.
And look, I understand financial difficulties. And I mean, the world we're living in today, the cost of housing is out of control. And so it's not feasible for a lot of young people to leave, even if they want to leave. But by 33, I mean.
Yeah. If you haven't,
you've had some time, it sounds like, to get your shit together.
If you haven't figured it out by then, you're not gonna.
But you're gonna stab your parents? Like you just think you're gonna get away with it, and then what? Just gonna keep living in the apartment?
Well, no,
because I mean, the estate.
Well, yeah, even if
it's be divvied up, probably.
Is everything paid off? Is there a mortgage still? I mean, what? Are you going to be able to take care of yourself? Do you know how to go to the grocery store and buy food and cook it and prepare it and wash your own clothes?
Luckily, it sounds like she has a wife that does know how to go to the grocery store and
my gosh,
run errands. Very, very strange days we live in, Dylan.
It is.
Strange times. All right, so let's wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mountain Murders. We do have a case I'm working on, and we'll get that out to you here in a day or so. We appreciate your patience. A lot going on. It's the end of the semester. I'm busy, but I've got my finals left. That's all, and I'll be finished up.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. I need a break.
Sounds great.
It's been a lot.
Thanks again to our new patrons.
Thanks so much, y'all.
And thanks again to our old patrons and everyone else. All our listeners, we love you so much.
So dope.
Until next time, I'm going to get off here.
Until next time, you're going to get off here. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just going to say bye.
Bye.
Bye.